let's take a look at this real quick. So basically, they did a study and they looked at essentially $750,000 in savings, which I don't think is realistic. The grand majority of people fall obviously way below $750,000 in savings. Okay. I don't know a ton of people who have literally $750,000 in savings. I know a lot of people who have $750,000 in real estate because they bought up a house for, I don't know, 25,000, 100,000, 150,000 back in the day, and now it's worth $1 million. I know a lot of people like that, but I don't know a lot of people that have $750,000 liquid in savings. So the bottom line is they did a study with that. So this number is inflated. It's too high for the average American. It's not realistic. It's really high. But it proves my point of what this video is about, which is that working while on retirement is an absolutely inevitable feature of the future of America. America is not going to be a golden years country in the future. It is going to be a work until you basically die country. Let me go through it real quick. Here was the banking rates-based Donna Villali published September 6, 2024 article. How long will $750,000 plus Social Security last you? Will last you more in some states than others. Okay. When you purchase through links, so with this website, they give you these things. I have nothing to do with that, but we're just going to go through the basic thing here. The prospect of running out of savings during retirement is unnerving because you remember it used to be the three legs, right? You had savings, you had Social Security, retirement, and you had pensions. Pensions no longer exist. We've had a really bad economic policy for a while, so savings no longer exist, right? And now all we have is basically Social Security retirement for the elderly. That's basically what this thing comes down to. The prospect of running out of savings during retirement is unnerving. One of the hardest retirement risks to manage is longevity. However, you can control your lifestyle. How lavishly or not you live will certainly impact how long you can financially sustain yourself. Whether you like it or not, saving for retirement requires you to project into the future an estimate of how much, you think you'll need to live on, depending on basically where you live, what's going on in your life, etc. Now, they did an assessment of 10 states that are basically the cheaper states to live, where $750,000 in savings. And you guys let me know. I'm curious. Do you guys have $750,000 in savings? I don't. I'm assuming you don't. But let me know if you guys have $750,000 in savings. Howdy, Kathleen Fulton from New Jersey. Howdy, Diana. Howdy, Linda Soto, Carl Johnson, Slatherings. Howdy, howdy. So here's the basic thing with this. In these states, which are the cheapy states to live, you can go ahead and live a long time. I want to tell you how long you can live. You could potentially make it through almost all of your retirement before basically running out. So there's potential here. So number 10. And then we'll go down to one of the cheapest states. Okay. Number 10, if you had $750,000 in savings and then retired with your Social Security check, you would be able at $52,210 of annual expenditure. Okay. An annual expenditure after Social Security would just be $29,796. You'd be able to last 25.17 years. Okay. 25.17 years. So that would be a lot of people. A lot of people would be able to make it for a very long time. However, when you start to look at the features of an early retirement, right? And then you look at the features of how long women are living, right? Because women live longer. They get to take the most, benefit out of the Social Security system, even though a lot of them weren't higher earners, but that's changing. That's changed. It's like ironically flopping where now women are the higher earners and also basically the longest receivers of Social Security benefits. So like when they tell you like the whole statistics of like women in the future and how men get all this stuff, it'll actually flip. Women will have earned more, get more of a larger check. Like the guys who are married to them will be able to tap into when their wife passes away a higher Social Security check. That's just not realistically going to happen. We're going to do a video on that. There is an unintended, although somewhat interesting consequence of the future of America. If you make the females work and earn more throughout their life, and they live longer than the males, because, obviously women have a tendency to choose jobs that are less like being on an oil rig, less, doing plumbing your entire life, being an electrician your entire life, being in Alaska logging, So women live longer, right? And they tend to have jobs now that are actually increasing in the amount that they're actually getting paid. So what's happening now is women in the future will earn more and live longer. So they'll be the biggest beneficiaries on all categories there of Social Security benefits. But in this state of Indiana, women that are going to be living longer, they will not be able to live their entire time without getting a job. That's just the reality. Okay. Guys will. Guys will here because guys won't live that long. So if you take here, let me give you some math real quick. So let's get out the calculator so we can keep using it over and over. So if you take 62 years, right, here we go, plus 25, that gets you all the way to 87. Okay. And there's a lot of people outliving 87 nowadays. 87 is not, that's not the end of the road kind of gig. All right. Now let's go to Tennessee. Tennessee, same gig, 25.17 years, $52,210 of annual expenditure. Annual expenditure after Social Security would be $29,796. You can live on that for 25.17 years. That's not good enough for women. Women will have to get a job at this state. Okay. Next one, Iowa. You would be able to go 25.27 years, so 87 years old, from early retirement period forward. $52,094 of annual expenditure. Annual expenditure after Social Security benefits would be $29,680. Still, you would get some men in this category likely living that long, living past 87. Women, you would get quite a few living past that 87. Now we get to Arkansas. Now we bump it up to 28.08 years after retirement. So now we're looking at basically 88 years old. Still totally attainable age. And that's the same for Missouri, which is number 6. Arkansas, 51,169, same as Missouri. And then annual expenditure after Social Security benefits would be $28,755. Now we get to Mississippi, 26.19. Okay, so we're still at 87 years old. Okay, so if your annual expenditure, right, was $51,053. Now, you have to understand, too, these numbers are based on a proper economy cost of living adjustment where we don't have hyper extreme inflation, right? We've had over the past 4 years hyper extreme inflation. A lot of that was due to COVID. A lot of that was due to executive mismanagement of the government. I understand there are people that disagree with me, but frankly, you don't understand how farming works. You don't understand how fuel works. You don't understand how the petrodollar works. You don't understand how the reserve currency works. So if you're one of those people that doesn't understand all of those, you're not going to understand why President Biden was extreme left for the first 3 years of his presidency and the super Republican of selling massive oil in the last year of his presidency, okay, where he had to flip his numbers around to make it make sense. So the bottom line is just cool it with the hyper left. You know what I mean? It's getting absurd at this point with a lot of the stuff that's coming out and some of the new bills that the lower freshman Democrats are trying to push through. It's just blowing my mind. Some of it's very racist too. It's not acceptable at all. All right. So again, Mississippi, 26.19 years, annual expenditure, $51,053, annual expenditure after Social Security, $28,639. Alabama, because now we're getting to backwater cheap states, super backwater cheap states. Alabama, 26.29 years. So you're still 87 here. $50,938 of annual expenditure, $28,524 after Social Security. Kansas, okay, 26.73. You're at $50,475 per year to survive, $28,061 after your Social Security. The number one cheapest place to live that also a lot of tornadoes live in, Oklahoma. 27.23. So you would have to make it to 88 and beyond, or you'd have to make it to basically 88 years and then not live another day after that, which is just not reality. A lot of people are living past 88 at this point. So if you made it to 88 and then lived more years after that, you'd have to get a job, and also you'd have to not spend much. You'd have to just sit around and sit all day and not spend money. That's the reality. A lot of people don't realize, but retired people, a lot of them are like, are you going to go on a cruise? You're going to do this? You're going to do that? And they're like, no, I'm going to sit here and find ways to spend time without spending money. That's the reality. Annual expenditure of only $49,955. Annual expenditure after Social Security, $27,540. Now, that is your best case scenario. That's if you've got your house paid off, you're just paying your taxes, you got a food bill, you're living in a cheap county. That's your best case scenario, okay? And even that doesn't work. Even those people, so many of those people still have to get a job. Now, if you go over to the other side of this, which are the states that are the most expensive to live in, okay, when it comes to basically your ability to go ahead and live, right? So here we go. You're going to see what kind of states end up at the top. It's always the same shit. It's always the blue chippers. Indiana. So bottom line is this. Okay. So wait, let me make sure this is correct here. Hold on. Let me make sure this is absolutely correct. Yeah, this is good. All right. So Indiana. Wait a minute. This isn't right. States ranked. Hold on. I got to make sure I get this absolutely correct here. No. Here we go. I was gonna say Indiana. There's no way. There's no way that's no. All right. At the very end of the spectrum. So still cheapest of the most expensive states. New Jersey, of course. Having $750,000 in the bank when you start at 62-ish, you will live on that for 17.31 years. You'll have an annual expenditure of $65,739, and after Social Security, $43,325. New Jersey has some of the worst politics in the nation. Absolutely terrible, horrible politics that don't make sense. The farmers are pissed there. Most of the farmers are in Pennsylvania because they moved out of New Jersey because they couldn't afford it there. The rules for 18-yard dump truck trailer loads of dirt or gravel are insanely high. Transportation fuel costs, insanely high. New Jersey is a good example of state that has been completely misrun. Okay, very good. It is punitive towards companies to exist there. Oregon, you'll be able to make it 17.22 years. Now, just to keep in mind, we take 62 plus 17, right? That gets us to 79. Okay, I mean, if you want to do the 0.22, you could say 80, right? You could say 80. But the bottom line is this: Oregon, 17.22 years. A lot of people are going to make it past 79. A lot of people. They used to say certain groups, male and minorities, wouldn't make it that long. No, that's not true anymore. Minorities are living very, very long periods of time. And so the bottom line is that everybody, for the most part, is going to be living past that, which means that having to have a job and an income once you retire is inevitable. Okay. Now, remember, some people have other things. They have pension through a government job when they still had pensions. They have military compensation, right? The VA people with the compensation benefits or military retirement plan when they were, in the military before they changed the rules 15 years ago and made the whole thing shit. That happened. That existed. Not to mention, just so you guys realize, my generation, you're either going to magically make it into people who have assets and have a decent retirement, or you're going to literally work every single day of your life. Like, this video is only about people who right now are facing this financial situation. You go 20 years down the line from now, none of this works. The inflation has destroyed all these numbers. There's no pensions. There's no special compensations. There's no military retirement plan that works at the same level, because that's like how much you put in will match shit. No, none of the numbers work anymore. My generation, millennials, even the ones above it, Gen Yers and stuff like that, none of this works. They will de facto, absolutely, without a doubt, have to work through retirement. Oregon, 17.22 years. Cost to live, $65,970 after Social Security, $43,556. Vermont, 17.8 years. So remember, we're going down in years, so you're getting younger here. 66,317, 43,903, so 79 years old. Washington State, 16.99 years. Okay, so now we're definitely down to 79 years. You're old, so the moment you hit past 79, you'll have run out of money. 66,549, 44,135. Then we get over here to Maryland, of course, 16.75 years, 67,185, 44,771 after Social Security benefits are applied. New York is a benchmark, because if you want to look at like states that are piss poor run, that are just, the politics are extreme. I mean, they're arresting literally Chinese agents of politicians there right now. Like, how absurd. I mean, you gotta, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if you guys see like the full news. Here's the thing: there's many levels of news. Okay, there's legacy news stations. That's your shittiest filter. Then you get to YouTube, who actually has stuff and sees the whole picture and doesn't go with a particular agenda. That's a level up, which is sad to say because YouTube is never meant to be a level above legacy news. It was never meant to be that. Then you get to the legal news, right? Which you guys don't get, right? That's case briefs, case outcomes, actual case documents, judges or statements, stuff like that. That is the closest you're going to get to the reality of what actually happened. That's the closest. And nobody has access to that other than pretty much attorneys and judges. And they don't use it in the major news stations. They just don't, unless it's like some major case that gets a lot of views. Then they might put one up, Casey Anthony kind of thing, right? New York. All right, so now we're at 15.38. So we take 62 years old, we add 15.38, and that puts us at 77.38, right? So you'd have to be 77.38 when you ran out of money and had to get a job, okay? You'd have to spend around $71,174. And that would annual expenditure after your Social Security benefits are, pulled away from that would be $48,760. How you could live in New York for basically $48,760 a year, that would be tough. Cheap county, cheap area, house is already paid off for the most part. You got taxes on the house that you live in, not cheap. Alaska, okay, and obviously the states that are like in the middle of nowhere, Hawaii, Alaska, stuff like that. The islands, their possessions, those are going to be the most expensive places to live because it's hard to get, assets up there, food, fuel, etc. All right. Alaska, 15.3 years. So you take 62 plus 15.3, that comes out to. So you'd need a job after your 77 years, 0.03. So after 77, you would need a job. Okay. That's if you had $750,000. $750,000 when you started this whole thing in 62. Okay, in savings. Alaska, so I'm imagining annual expenditures of $72,330. Annual expenditure after Social Security would be $44,916. Massachusetts, really expensive. God, Boston, all that stuff. 12.29. Okay. And that's the thing. You're not going to be able to live in blue chip states. Democrat states, you're not going to be able to live in them unless you're rich. That's the reality. Unless you're like wealthy, you're not going to be able to live in blue chip states. So Massachusetts, you take 62, you add it on to 12.29. I can just see the comments. Oh, he loves Trump, blah, blah, blah. I'm not doing this for a particular agenda. I'm giving you the numbers so that you can understand the reality of what you're facing with retirement. I could tell you terrible things about the Republican Party. They don't support increasing the actual amount of money that they have at the SSA to administer the benefits to you, which is one of the largest reasons all this stuff is taking so long for disability benefits. They're the major cause. But when it comes to the reality of bad politics in states where everything's too expensive, the winner chicken dinner is always on the left. It's just the way it is. They have better, well, that's not even true anymore. They used to have better medical. The medical facilities they had used to be, without a doubt, the best. That's not completely accurate anymore. Now, some of the red states are actually, in my opinion, beating them for amount of time the doctor spends with the patient, amount of prescribed options that are given. It's changing. So, but that was the one big thing the blue ticket states had, was that great medical treatment. All right, so basically we take 12.29. I think this is, hold on, let me do this again. 62 plus 12.29. What does that come out to? That comes out to 74.29. So after 74 years, you'd have to get a job. That's Massachusetts. It would take you $83,431 to live there per year. Annual expenditure minus Social Security would be $61,017. District of Columbia, so DC, we're talking 12.26. So we take 62 plus 12.26. That equals, so after 74, you would have to get a job in the District of Columbia. If starting at 62 is $750,000, annual expenditure is $83,605. Annual expenditure after Social Security benefits would be $61,191. Now, it's always between two states when it comes to the shit show as to the most poorly run area. right? And most financially ridiculous. Now, one of them has an advantage because it gets to say that it's in the middle of the ocean and it's hard to get resources, food and fuel, timber. It's hard to get stuff there. So, it's got that for it. And the other state is a massive state with massive assets and timber, stones, all kinds of stuff, right? Massive assets, massive farming. It has absolutely no excuse. It has every reason that it should be the number one state in America for the cheapest place to live because there are so much opportunity and so much bare, raw, natural resources available there. But yet it is usually the shittiest place when it comes to this stuff, other than, of course, the one in the middle of the Pacific, number 2 on this list for places that you will not be able to live long and will have to start working immediately. This is California. So at 62 plus 12.21 years. So at 74 years old, you'll have to get a job because you will have spent all of your $750,000 original savings that you had when you went into retirement. Annual expenditure is $83,836. Annual expenditure after Social Security is $61,422. Hawaii, who has a good reason for being expensive because it is gorgeous, because it is in the middle of the Pacific, because it is hard to get stuff there. If you had $750,000, okay, starting at 62, you would have to get a job because you would have expended it all after basically turning 70.8 years old. So 71-ish, you got to get a job. You got to get a job. That's it. You got to get a job. Just is what it is. Just is what it is. Got to get a job. So the bottom line is you would spend around $107,657 annual expenditure after Social Security, $85,243. So the point that I'm getting at with this is that it's not, you're going to have to live in the most backwater areas of Louisiana kind of gig, Oklahoma kind of gig, to basically, Tornado Alley, to be able to survive solely on. Now, here's how they did their methodology for actually doing the analysis on this. In order to find how long $750,000 will last across the country with Social Security, Go Banking Rates first found, 1, the national average annual expenditures for people 65 and older sourced from the Bureau of Labor Statistics 2022 Consumer Expenditure Survey data, and 2, annual Social Security income as sourced from the Social Security Administration's May 2024 data. Then Go Banking Rates created 2 state-level annual expenditure estimates by multiplying the national figure by each state's overall cost of living index score for 2024 Q1 from the Missouri Economic Research and Information Center. Finally, Go Banking Rates found, number 3, how many years $750,000 will last each state by dividing $750,000 by each state's average annual expenditures estimate minus yearly Social Security income. All 50 states in the District of Columbia were then ranked, with number 1 being the state where $750,000 and Social Security will last the longest, and number 51 being the state where it will run out most quickly. So the bottom line is, if you live in Hawaii, you better be rich. You better be rich when you hit retirement age. Because if you're retired, hey, you know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know, maybe start a YouTube channel. I don't know. But here's what bothers me about this, okay? Here's what gets me about this whole situation. You know that retirement isn't covering. It's not covering what it's meant to cover. You know that the cost of living adjustment math has been played with. You're losing about $500+ a month that you're supposed to be getting right now. You know that the federal government on the left side, Harris, and the right side, Trump, has no solution for you. This is a work enforcement agenda. This is not a, hey, maybe we'll figure shit out. This is a work enforcement agenda to make people who are retired go back to work. That's what this is. That's what it is. All right. All right. I will catch you guys a little bit later tomorrow. Please have a wonderful, wonderful night. Please be kind to each other. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the details. Please head over to Google, type in Disability Resolution PA, throw some stars up on the board, go to the Google reviews. I always appreciate them. And also remember, if you want to catch me for the live, Mondays and Thursdays we go live, and then there is a mini contract where you can buy basically a 1-hour below, right? So we put you on the hearing calendar for 1 hour. Attorney Walter Hnot, I'm heading to bed. It's 1:24 a.m. I will catch you a little bit later and we'll go from there. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.